What's up, everybody? Paul Hickey here with NoOffSeason.com. Welcome to episode 41 of the Sports Card Strategy Show. 41 episodes. We are pumped to be here today, and got my man Kendall McKee. He's rocking the Sports Card Strategy Show tee. Looking good, my man. How you doing, Kendall?
I'm good. I am good. Refreshed, encouraged. Man, this weekend was fun. So
refreshed and encouraged from the national, I assume. And
yes. Well, also then once the day I got back, I had one whole day of just introvert time, and it was awesome.
Yes. Are you an introvert?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do know that I'm fueled by time by myself.
Yeah. I think it depends on how you define introvert, but that's the definition that I have heard recently from people. So other people have told me that I'm actually an introvert, and I just know that the way that I recharge my personal batteries is with time by myself. Specifically time working on, doing web work, doing sports card strategy, no off-season work, doing research on sports cards. That's kind of how I refresh. And I mean, I can go for hours on end and then just feel amazing afterwards. Whereas I think some people need to go out to dinner with other people and all that. But yeah, so that's good. I'm glad you had some introvert time. So we're happy to have everyone here. Definitely we always pay attention to the comments in the live stream, and we try to chime in as we go so that the show feels very interactive, but also we have added a live Q&A session at the end of the show. So any questions that come in during the show, we will answer at the end if we haven't addressed them throughout the show. So we got our Power Pack typical agenda for you guys today. We're going to start with L of the week, and we're going to incorporate obviously a lot that's happened to us over the last week. A lot has happened in the sports card world for Kendall and I, because we were both at the National. We met face to face for the first time ever, which was amazing. And we met some of you actually. So for those of you that were at the National and were able to come say hi, we appreciate that. And we hope it was just the first of many to come. So, well, I'm going to get rolling. We got a lot to talk about. So I'm going to start with my L of the week. What was my worst move of the week? And I can say that it probably was spending too much time digging through the dollar boxes at the National. This was my first National, and I was super excited to try to find deals. And the day that so Wednesday, I got there for the VIP stuff, which was pretty cool. And then tried to meet up with Kendall on Thursday, but he ghosted me on Thursday. So I spent all day digging. I called it my digging day. And so I was digging in the dollar boxes, and I really didn't find anything for myself. And so I think specifically, I kind of learned that like Mosaic Soccer, Select Soccer, and Prism Soccer are kind of gross. We talked about this a little bit on some earlier episodes where I was kind of learning. I've learned a lot over the last couple of years about soccer cards and really tops. I was intrigued by a lot of the top stuff that I saw. I didn't really pull trigger, but I think my L of the week was just like time management on that first day, that first full day. Specifically spending too much time in the dollar boxes. And I don't know if it was the National. I don't go to any other card shows really. That'll change next year, but I don't know if it's card shows in general now or if it's just the National, but I think my L of the week was just wasting too much time going through like dollar boxes, 50-cent boxes. So that was my L of the week.
Yeah, I mean, we even had this conversation, and first off, hold on. I got to defend myself a little bit, ghosting is a hard term. I was there with other people who had a car. Therefore, I could not make the same decisions. And we stayed about 40 minutes away from Atlantic City. I'd been up since 2 a.m. It was a rough day, but anyway.
Fair enough.
Ghosting is we did not get the chance to meet up that first day. I got into the National, and I would say the L of the week for me was Atlantic City itself.
Ooh.
Like, what a gross place. I hope they just never do the National again there. Like, National in Chicago was fantastic. The setup was great. Like, the facilities were fantastic. The to and from the convention center was very easy. There was stuff all over the place you could do, eat, stay at, all this stuff. Like, I went to a Cubs game one night while I was there. You know, like, it was just, I mean, it was a great environment. Atlantic City, I had to drive 40 minutes in and 40 minutes out to stay at a nice place, and which was a fantastic place, by the way. Shout out to RM Layton for the connection of this awesome beach house that we slept at, which was fantastic on its own. But Atlantic City itself, pretty disgusting, run down. You could tell it was like trying to be like a Vegas type place, and you've heard it said like Vegas of the East or whatever. But you can tell COVID just wrecked the city. Like, there's not a lot going on. A lot of buildings need updated, but probably not going to get it because they're not getting the same, you know, money pumped into the city as they used to. You could even tell with like the billboards of like what kind of acts are coming to Atlantic City. Like, one of them was like DJ Pauly D. I saw that. Yeah. That dude was freaking everywhere in Atlantic City. And like, you could just tell like there's no like big acts or big like residencies or anything there. I went to the sports book, which like in Vegas is like packed, like literally all day every day somebody's watching something and betting on it. And we went there and there was one guy there, and he was just sitting in the recliner, like huge screen above him, just like, you know. And I was like, I don't know if that dude's homeless or he's just wanting to be here, you know, like, yeah. So I would say the L of the week was the presence of the National in Atlantic City. More like that last part. Once you were in the National, the worst part about it was the Wi-Fi, which was another reason I couldn't get a hold of you on Thursdays. I was trying to get a hold of you while I was in the place.
You did a good job. I was messing with you. So
no, I'm past that. I'm just saying, like, there was the aspect of none of us had any Wi-Fi, which in fact later on I ended up using as a big part of like some of my negotiations. I ended up like really doing me a solid later on, because people would be like, oh, you know, like, do you have your phone with you? Can you comp this for me? And I was like, I don't have my phone. You're gonna have to give me a price to go off of. And that helped me on like 4 deals get mega steals on the person who had the card did not know the worth of what they had in their hand.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get into that because I was super impressed with you, making some deals alongside you, watching you do your thing, and definitely knowing the prices and knowing the prospects in all of the sports, but especially baseball and soccer definitely work to your advantage. So yeah, RPO Sports Cards basically has the same view based on what they have heard. So
I'm laughing at Southern Soccer Idiot.
Hey, Southern Soccer Idiot, welcome back. Welcome back, friend.
That's funny because that's really what it was like. I'm carrying around thousands of dollars of cards in like this little case behind me, and I'm walking around Atlantic City going, I'm gonna have to beat somebody off with this thing. Use it as a weapon.
I mean, I stayed in a dump of a hotel. Luckily, the people were really nice. It was about a mile away. I wanted to make sure that I walked back before it got dark every day. But I was across from another casino. I didn't have enough money to stay actually at a casino, but I was across from another casino that had a bunch of good restaurants in it. So I was able to just walk like literally 15 steps outside my door and go get some good dinner every night. But yeah, it definitely wasn't. This is going to sound weird, but had I not lived in Spain for the last 5 years, I probably would have been scared shitless the entire time. But because I live in a city that has areas that kind of look like that, I was fine. And the other thing I'll add is that honestly, every person, I don't know how you feel about this, Kendall, but every person I saw was there for the National. So it was almost like the National took over all of Atlantic City. It was almost like the entire population of Atlantic City for those 5 days were the people, which is kind of what you're saying. Like, you know, the National, like COVID wrecked it. There's nothing there. The National came in and it was all National. So
like, it wouldn't surprise me if the national convention or whatever, like that association that runs setting up the event and everything, if they like got a sweet premium for coming to Atlantic City.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And the event, like the venue for the event was actually really good, I thought. Like,
yeah,
no
I will
issues
say
with
that once you were inside the convention center, I felt like it was good.
Yeah, so they did a good job with that. I mean, the city itself, there's not much you can do about, I guess, but the convention center I thought was great. I mean, the internet that one day, Friday, the internet, there was no, it was like everyone's data didn't work and the internet inside the building didn't work for like almost all day. So that seems like it might have worked to your advantage. So so Jamie Hauser has an L of the week. They say that Mac Jones neon green Pulsar Prism on a 10-day auction ending at primetime for $70 last night was not the price that Jamie wanted.
Sexy pick of Jamie, by the way. Little pick on the bed.
Jamie, what's up with that? Thanks for chiming in, though, Jamie.
Thanks for chiming in on your.
Thanks for chiming in with your pick. Toa, what up? What up, Toa? Your gift from the National dropped in the mail today, my man. So go green, go white. There is no off season. Those cards are on the way. We might do more giveaways on the show. That's something that I want to look at doing, just giving things away to the audience because we love you guys and we just want to support. So we appreciate everything that you guys do. So W of the week. What was my best move of the week? Look at the photo there of the two of us looking good, repping the Texas Road Show with the Krim brothers. They did awesome. So my W of the week, like, okay, let me get the cheesy stuff out first. So like meeting other people face to face. M Carius 11 and his son stopped by. I met them, met all the people at Sports Card Investor, met Lou Janu from Card Talk Pod. He wants to come on the show. So we might have Lou Janu as a guest on the show. That would be amazing. Met Tyler, met Ryan, met Gary B, met just a lot of really cool people. Aram and Colby from Just Baseball, met those guys. Shout out to them. Really cool peeps. So thank you, Kendall, for introducing me to those guys. And check out justbaseball.com. They do great work. Hopefully we'll be close with them and helping each other out. But my card, I have 3 W's of the week from the National that we can talk about we can reference throughout the show if we need to. And I think Kendall is going to love what the actual W of the week is. So I'm going to go from third place to first place, just real quick. So, cause I got to give a shout out to Chase Krim at Texas Roadshow Cards. So Chase and I made a deal for a Jordan Poole Contenders rookie ticket auto Prism on card auto. I got that for $300. That is under comps. So thank you, Chase Krim. And it's basketball card buying season. So I was really excited to get that.
I literally almost snagged that other one while y'all were
Did you really?
Because I was like, I have the money. I know it's a good buy. And then I was like, wait a second. I don't buy basketball.
Hey,
I know.
That's funny though. Well, that's when you really know that it was a good buy when you almost bought a basketball card. So that makes me feel good.
For $300.
For everybody wondering, there were 2 of them, and I picked the one with the better auto. They both looked like they would grade about the same. So I picked the one with what I thought was the better looking auto, and I got Kendall and Chase's opinion on which one that I should take. And they kind of let me make my own decision, but they agreed that the auto that I picked was the better one. So I don't have many on-card autos, so I was pretty psyched about that. Like I think it's one of my better cards, actually. And I love Jordan Poole. He's obviously high in our sports card investment report at nooffseason.com, so check that out. And shout out to Gary at Hoops and Cards, because I know he's been the one telling me like basketball card buying season is August, and I'm like, okay, well, close enough.
Here we are, yeah.
So let me do it.
As of today
it starts. I bought this card a few days ago, but it was close enough for me. So
what Paul's saying is, as of today, you guys can buy his Jordan Poole card for $600. As of today, help me double my money. It's guys. Buying season. It's buying season. It'll go up from there, so we all win, right? That's what we all want. Obviously, we're kidding. So I probably will list that. I think,
I'll probably actually list it in November because I noticed a huge basketball card spike when the season started last year. So if that starts to happen again and Jordan Poole is lighting it up early, I'll probably list it. If not, I'll probably list it in March or April. There's another usually like a hype spike before the playoffs, and then like if the Warriors are doing well, I think what I learned from last basketball season is that there's kind of like a championship expectations built in because not a lot of guys really spiked for the Warriors. So I'm thinking that I would maybe sell that earlier than the playoffs. We'll see.
I would say there's probably a championship expectation for some players, but not others.
Yeah.
Like for the Warriors probably have it already baked in, but like for instance, if like if the Clippers had ended up going deep, I think they would have had a bump with like say Leonard and not
And
Leonard
Paul
and
George.
Kawhi. Like Leonard and Paul George were healthy and then they made a run. I think their cards would have seen a bump, but I don't think Steph's did because everybody was just like it was almost like inflated all the way to a championship. And it was like if he doesn't win it, it's going to come down, but if he does, it's just going to stay where it's at, So yeah, I think it depends on the franchise, depends on the player.
For sure. All right, so then my second place win of the week, which I'm not supposed to do this, but we were at the National, so I'm doing it. Second place win of the week was a Pedri auto, second year Pedri auto, Topps Chrome that I got in a package deal for the number one win of the week, which was an Ansu Fati on card Obsidian patch auto. And the way that this went down was Kendall had made a couple of good deals. So we were feeling it. Like we were feeling the vibes. So it was my turn to make a deal. So Kendall and I were at the showcase at this one dealer showcase. And he's like, hey, check out, here's some of your guys' autos. Like there's a Pedri and a Fati auto. So Kendall actually found the cards for me. So I go over and start negotiating with the dealer. And I say, all right, I had already kind of looked up comps a little bit. And so I knew that the Pedri was probably a good buy at about 125. It had a $150 sticker on it. The Fati, I think, also had a $150 sticker on it, but it was I think it's
125.
Okay, so 125 sticker on it, and I think it was I thought it was a good buy around 100 based on recent comps. So I say I'll give you 225 for both, I think is what I said. And the guy came back and was like, okay, that sounds good. And then literally like 3 full seconds later, he goes, actually, I'll give you the Pedri for your 125, but I'll give you the Fati for 65. And so I said, bet. Sign me up for that. And then I just looked at Kendall and I was like, wait a minute. I just offered this dude $100 for this Fati card. He came back and countered at $65. So best negotiation I've ever had in my life.
It was so weird. Like I was standing a little bit off the table. Like I was like 2 to 3 people deep watching Paul make this transaction. And then there was other people like at the table itself. Like if you've ever been to a card show, like there's kind of etiquette. Like if you're not looking at the cards, like step back, And so I'm like behind, I can kind of tell what's going on. I can hear them, but I thought I misheard it at the time. I was like, no way did that guy just say like, you know what? I'll just take half of what I have it labeled for, even though we already agreed on you taking $20 off. And then I was like, did that one happen? And he was like, yeah, that's crazy. And literally the only thing that I can think makes sense is that card actually comped for that. Because he was saying something about he bought it earlier today or something. Anyway.
Maybe. Yeah.
And he was like, he got it in another like trade deal that he had done with somebody else earlier in the day. So it wasn't his price that was on there. But
oh yeah,
but I think he was the only thing that makes sense is if that card actually does comp around $65 and he just was trying to like speed up the process of you eventually finding out that the card was only worth $65 and then just gave you for what it's going to be comped at. That's the only thing I can think of. But then even again, like we just were laughing so hard I forgot to even go look. So I don't know. It was a freaking funny thing, dude. That was
it was funny. I like to think you're right for his sake because and that's just a quality thing to do. So and there for as much as I kind of talked on Wednesday and Thursday about things being overpriced, there was just as much, quality going on with people willing to make deals and be fair and stuff. So maybe that's what he was doing. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Jamie Hauser says W of the week is catching you guys live today. Yeah, buddy. We love it. All right. So Kendall, you got a W of the week for us?
I do want to kind of address this Toa comment that is in here that him and RPO are talking about somebody potentially going missing at the sports car convention. I could totally see that as a possibility because like I don't know the situation, I don't know the tweet, but given the city and given the situation, the amount of money that went through, I'm surprised it would be only one person like that ended up having a rough week. Like it would make sense to me that somebody went over to the casino, had too much beers to drink, and ends up somewhere where he's not supposed to be. Like maybe it's not so much like like scary related. Maybe it's just like, hey, it was kind of like a night in Vegas type thing, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Yeah, maybe he's on the ceiling of or the roof of one of the hotels or something. But
yeah, let's hope
I really could
okay.
see how that could have happened. It would make sense to me in my head. So
yeah, Southern Soccer Idiot, back to my W of the week, says give the dealer information. Yeah, less than 50%. I don't know. Yeah. Southern Soccer Idiot, so it's an Obsidian 2021. I mean, it's like Fati's third year, but it's an
RPA.
I guess it's his Obsidian. Well,
it's not an RPA.
It's not an RPA. It's a nice patch auto. Fati, I think, has a cool signature. It's also numbered to 75, which I didn't mention. So SSI, let us know what you think of that move. I was pretty pumped about it. And I like the Pedri auto too. So anyway, all right, Kendall, what's your W of the week, man?
Man, my W of the week was spending time with you guys as well. I don't get to see Aram and Colby very often, even though we talk a lot. Like, those are guys I work with at Just Baseball. Actually, that was the first time I met Colby in person. So that was cool. But just the W of the week is being at the National. Even though I dogged Atlantic City, I would still do it again for the connections and the stuff that the networking and all that stuff that's a big part of the event. And I was telling Paul, like, I think it's really significant to go because, like, sure, yeah, like there's cards there. That's the secondary thing for me. The people that are there is what's really important to me. Like Krim is there, Jimmy's there. Me and you met for the first time and had a blast and hung out pretty much the whole second day, and then got to ride a train
and
together.
Then the third day, the last day too. That was awesome.
And then traveled together, which was honestly just such a relief for me. Like, I would have been a wreck, Paul. Honestly, like I just would have been like, I don't know where I'm going, or I don't know if I would have gotten my plane on time, which somehow I did. But anyway, so that was all great. But the card part, there was tons of booths that were just like speculatory, like cool to look at type thing. Like there was tons of vintage stuff that's just super cool. We saw the Mickey Mantle that got auctioned, or one of them that's very similar to that, like I saw a PSA 10 Mickey 52. Like that's ridiculous to even say.
That's crazy.
And all that stuff is really cool. Got to see Beckett's new like thing branding. That was really nice. We saw just some celebrities and all sorts of stuff, but like some of the booths, it's funny because like the National is set up very weird from a booth standpoint. Like it would help me if they were to like differentiate more. Like, okay, these are local card shops.
That would be amazing.
Like these are
breakers,
like breaker. Well, they had like the breakers thing, but then there was like people in there that were operating like a local card shop because the breakers like set up a booth, which is fine. But like, I don't know. I wanted more like, okay, this is where you go to watch breaks and see cool stuff being ripped. This is where you go if you're trying to make connections with the big companies like Topps, Beckett, Panini, all that stuff. And there was kind of that section too, but like I need more delineation in my head. And then there's like the local card shop place, but then then in that space, there's like dudes that are just like have a collection that are just there, you know, like the guy that I bought a Gunnar Henderson auto from, which is a big win for me. He was like literally just a guy with a bunch of cards that had a table, you know, and so like was not a shop, not even like didn't have a PayPal address, you know, like he's just like there.
It's weird that he got a table, but yeah, you're right. Like
he ended up being a friend of the guy who had the table.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, that was really good.
You're onto something though, and sorry to cut you off. I just think if they were to, here's how I would improve it. I'll be brief. The main stage, no one's listening to that. No one cares about it. They could take the guys that are breaking, make them not break online at their booth because no one. So you're walking by people that are breaking online from their booth, which
I don't know how they did that, to be honest, because the Wi-Fi was horrible.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. But that doesn't even really make any sense to me because you're not you're not interacting with anyone when you're staring at your cards and breaking and talking to people online. Like, not that there's anything wrong with doing that. I get that that's their business. It just doesn't make sense to do it in the middle of a card show. But if they were breaking, if we could all hear them and they were on the main stage and they rotated those people through the main stage and filmed and showed the break on a big screen and we heard their audio, that would be sick because then I think it's like interactive with the audience. Like, why isn't there like a live break on the main stage that everybody can see? And then you rotate those people through. And then what you do is, what I think would even be better is like what you're saying, organize the booths somehow by what strength of card you have. And I realize that might not be possible till closer to the show because people don't really know what their inventory is. But generally, you know, because you'd walk by a booth, a dealer booth, and you'd see all vintage baseball. Well, take all of your vintage baseball and put them all in one general area. Take all of your, modern basketball and put them all in one area. I realize it's easier said than done, but I think they could do a better job of it. And it would improve the experience for people like me for sure. Because I was
walking around the whole time looking for dang soccer cards and I did not see like hardly any. And I was just like, where the heck are these things? I know they're here, which we ended up finding them and it'd been all right, but.
Yeah, for sure. So Ziggy, what's up, Ziggy? Thanks for watching and being part of the live chat. I think he's got a couple good things to share here. So he says and Ziggy, sorry we missed each other. I know I got your DM, so we'll definitely link up sometime after I move back. We'll get a card show that we're both going to be at together, maybe even before the national, and we'll link up. But anyway, Ziggy brings a good perspective here. He says Topps, Upper Deck, and Panini booths have great promo packs and giveaways. I'm going to need to maybe pay a little bit more attention to that next year. I kind of bypassed that, so that's good. And then he's commenting on the main stage, a Go GTS commercial. Not excited about the content, but it's been worse. Yeah, I mean,
I would say the main stage was less annoying this year than it was last year.
Okay.
Because the main stage audio last year was horrible, and they were in a giant concrete room, and so it was just like the reverb was out of this world, and like when they did break something, all these sirens went off and everything, and it was just like, what the heck is going on, so
that was last year in Rosemont.
Yeah, it was like a little bit of what you said, like where they had like a stage for people to like break from, but like the audio and the visual and all that kind of stuff was done pretty poorly, and so it was just annoying rather than cool, and so like anyway. But
so Ziggy says that there were some breaks on the main stage, so that's good. See, I probably wasn't paying attention to the main.
What they were ripping. Yeah,
that's funny. Sad. Yeah, they didn't know what they were ripping because of 86 Fleer. Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for the comments. Steve Cummings, thanks for the comments. We love. He says asking for hockey, hardly anything. A little disappointing. I saw 2 full hockey booths and I saw 0 full soccer booths. So I was gonna say, Steve, I think we might suffer from I definitely have commented on things that I just missed, and people have said, well, you missed that. Like, fair enough. I saw a lot of hockey, so I fear that maybe you just missed hockey. But then again, it depends on what kind of hockey you're looking for. I don't know hockey as well as I know like 6 other sports. So hockey's like one of my weakest. So I think that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there wasn't hockey and I just saw hockey cards that were crap. I don't know. But yeah, Kendall, I remember seeing hockey with Kendall and Kendall actually looking at some hockey. So maybe I don't know, but that's good. Like would love to see more hockey. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So got Kendall's W of the week. So let's go to the buy of the week. Buy of the week, the right cards to buy right now and why. And we're giving credit as a sponsor to Market Movers app by Sports Card Investor, not because they pay us for it, but because we really like the tool and we encourage all of you to use the Market Movers app tool. And you can get your first month for only $1. There's a new and improved UI and everything. And we're going to get into my buy of the week here in a second, but I do want to say hello to Texas Roadshow Shop.
Yo!
What up? This is Chase or Cody or both of you. Probably Chase. What's up, guys? What's up, Chase? How you doing, man? We're going to have you obviously back on the show and, get you in here for another full episode. Maybe your girlfriend's arm will be part of the episode. Maybe not. But my W of the week, 2 basketball cards, because it is basketball card buying season. And I'm going to add my screen to the stream here. I will have my double monitor back next week, so you won't have to see a little awkwardness there for a second.
Dirty dog. But
here we go.
That was my pick.
One of my buys of the week is this Damian Lillard. Damian, yes. See, we don't plan for this. So I just sniped Kendall's buy of the week because I let him go first last week. So I went first today and I get Damian Lillard. This is just a base hoops 2012 BGS 9.5. I saw this. Kendall and I are both using Market Movers for this segment. We're supposed to pick out our best deals and talk about them on the show. And this one struck me as like basketball card buying season. Everyone's kind of forgot about Dame. $60, $20 cheaper than it was in the last sale. No offers, but it could just be like a nice sneaky pickup. So that was, I'm probably really going to piss Kendall off on this one because I actually have another one too that hit me as I was
please
scrolling.
Don't pull my second person because I had 2.
Was it basketball?
No.
Okay, good. Then I'm not going to snipe your second one also. So as you can see on my screen here, for those of you that are watching on YouTube or in the Facebook group, I'm using this buys tab of Market Movers app. And it's just really cool because it sorts for you what the best savings are on current buy it now listings versus the last time that the card sold. So you got to double check a little bit as you do with all data tools, but in general, it's pretty quick to find deals here. So Darius Garland, 2019 Optic base PSA 10. This was a card. This is actually a card that I've talked about a lot since I launched nooffseason.com and the sports card investment report. It's not like a desirable card, but Darius Garland to me is a desirable player, and it is time to buy him. This is $35, and it's actually down by about $11.50 from its last sale. So this could be a great time to buy this card. And if you wanted to, if you're going for some budget plays, I think this is one that this could easily be double at several points during the NBA season. So pretty simple, nothing complicated. 2 kind of budget bids, I think, on the safe side. I'll let Kendall talk about Dame because that was one of his. And then Kendall, you can give us the rest of your other buys here.
Yeah. So we talked about Dame a couple of weeks ago, being as a potential candidate for a price bump because he has very high accolades and skill level and it's been on a horrific team over the last couple of years. So Dame, there's quite a lot of speculation that they're going to add somebody either before the season starts, which would be pretty impressive at this point, or before the trade deadline. Dame's going to get some help, and this Portland team is going to be better than it is currently. And I would even argue that it is better than it has performed over the last 6 to 8 months, just already, Dame is a guy who's going to be healthy coming off the off season. He played with that stomach issue, the abdomen issue last year, still played very well. Guy who commonly gets 30 to 40 points a game. He's going to be in the news all the time. But the thing he's lacking is he doesn't have those accolades. And I think those are projectable moments we can build towards. And so if you look at guys at his skill level, like a star level or whatever you would call it, I think he's a guy that's really undervalued for what he is. Now, there's two ways this could happen. Later on in his career, he doesn't end up in Portland and, he's somewhere else and gets a championship somewhere else or something. Like maybe you get residual build a couple of months down the road. But I do think that like if so I do some sports betting, not a whole lot, but I do some within reason. And if this would be something like the Portland's over under would be something I would check in on, because I think Portland is going to do better than people assume they are going to do this year. And I think Dame is going to feel the result of that. So I actually was looking at this on the train when we were chatting. I was looking at Dame's value. So it's actually been on my list for a couple of days. But another card that I like that's on the deals list. So normally what I do is instead of just going to deals, I go to deals in my specific sports I'm interested in, because there's tons of guys that are on football and basketball. And I'm just like, although I know a lot about that market and I know a lot about those players and the teams and all kinds of stuff. I mean, the Deshaun Watson stuff today is huge for our card industry for whatever it means for Jacoby Brissett versus Deshaun Watson's market. And what it means for Amari Cooper. I mean, that stuff is really big. I'm just not personally invested enough to buy into football cards. I've got to help my brain and function my money somewhere. So I ended up going for soccer, and I was scrolling through the list, and like 5 or 6 down the row is a card that I saw at the National that I thought was really undervalued at the National. And I didn't end up buying it, but I saw it while I was there. So as you know, we talked a lot about Rose Lavelle at the National. I picked up 2 Rose Lavelle cards that I thought were really great. I actually, one of them could have been considered my win of the week or whatever, because I bought it for $80 and then the last sold was $280 on eBay. So the guy like literally had no idea what he had. He just sold it for what he thought. He looked really dumb.
I don't think he knew who she was.
Yeah, I don't. He was like, I have that girl named Rose, so I got a PSA 9 for $80 and it's worth $280. It's an Obsidian out of 75, super cool. And I think she's going to be the person that takes the reins of this U.S. women's national team very soon. Anyway, there's a Mia Hamm card here, so let me share my screen.
All right. And while you're doing that, I just want to give a shout out. So Jamie Hauser and Dell Duncan have some great questions, and I've starred them in my chat. So we are definitely going to answer your guys' questions at the end of the show. So stick around with us. We'll get to them. Thanks for that. And here's Kendall's screen, so I'll let you get back to it.
I'm just, so what I do is I end up going up here and I type in soccer. Makoko, I think, is a great buy right now. It's obviously some of these guys are great, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't buy Van Persie right now because he's not going to be playing in the World Cup. But this Mia Hamm card struck me. It's a 20%-ish down. And Mia is never going to go anywhere. She's always going to be like a symbol of American soccer that's going to keep on rising. This is a unique card, Sports Illustrated for Kids section. I actually have a Mia Hamm Sports Illustrated for Kids right here in my binder.
That's awesome. I love
that. From when I was a kid, I had Sports Illustrated for Kids and I kept it. Now, I actually just turned in my Tom Brady rookie Sports Illustrated for Kids card. It just went to PSA last week. So I actually have a really cool Landon Donovan one as well, where he has the bleached hair. It's kind of funny looking. But anyway, I love that card. I think Mia is going to be a staple. I think that the United States women's national team is gaining a ton of silent popularity in the hobby. when I saw almost as many soccer cards that I did women's soccer cards. Like every booth that had a soccer card had something to do with like an Alex Morgan or a Rapinoe or a Mia Hamm or Rose Lavelle. Like they were all very like present at the National. If you were to find a section of cards that were soccer, which that was actually the hard part. But the unique part was I commonly saw girls soccer cards or women's soccer cards moving a lot at the National, which and the second day when I was asking for it, people were like, oh, I had a ton of that, but it was sniped yesterday. Because
really? That's interesting.
Like on Thursday, I asked every single soccer booth I went to, hey, do you have women's soccer? And they said, we had a bunch of it, but Wednesday got like, I don't know who was coming through on Wednesday. They'd bought everything, so
wow.
That was unique. And I ended up getting some steals. Like I got some 2 Rose Lavelle cards that I really liked. I live near Cincinnati, so she's like a mainstay here. So, but anyway, this Mia Hamm card, I think could be a cool buy. And just Mia in general, if her market is down, I think it's kind of like one of those goats that we can invest in. It's not to the same level of goat, but it is, I think. So
love the Mia Hamm call. Good work on that one. And, that's a great buy of the week. Steve Cummings says he saw Miss Sports Cards at the National, and she pretty much specializes in soccer, so that's cool.
There we go.
Maybe she's the one who went in and bought up everything that day, and then tried to flip it.
Honestly, it's really cool that those cards are moving. I think that's big for not only the sport of soccer, but I think that's big for a lot of things that we're trying to work towards as a culture. If like
for sure.
Like those cards literally aren't just sitting there, like I know 2 to 3 people that do buy NWSL packs off like Trinity Rodman stuff. I didn't see that anywhere because it was moving already.
Trinity Rodman stuff is expensive as hell. Like I looked into her several months ago, or at least a couple months ago. And I was intrigued by her, Dennis Rodman's daughter, and her autos are pretty cool, but they're super expensive. And
she got quite a contract.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It'll be fun to follow her. So Southern Soccer Idiot says he has a Mia Hamm Upper Deck rookie SGC 9.5. That's pretty sweet. Kendall, if you're interested in that, maybe you guys can strike a deal. That's pretty cool.
I am interested in that. So yes, I am interested.
Nice. Well, you guys keep us updated on what you end up working out there. All right,
it's time to get a hold of him. It doesn't do social media. All he has is YouTube.
That's true. You guys are just gonna have to get a hold of each other through YouTube comments, which.
I'm not putting my.
Here's an offer. Go ahead. Who to sell now? So who to sell now? I gotta be real with you guys, and let's get everything. I guess politically correct out of the way first. Rest in peace to Bill Russell. Super sad that he passed away. He's obviously an amazing person. He's one of the best players of all time, and definitely sad for his family and everyone that knows him and everyone that is a fan of his. I know that the day that Magic Johnson announced that he had HIV, it was a pretty sad day for me. I was in like 5th or 6th grade and thought he was going to die, and that was super sad. So to all the Bill Russell fans, definitely my condolences to the family and everything. But let's also be real here. The death of a player, especially the death of a legend, does spike their card value. Kendall and I talked about, we were just strolling through the National the other day, and Kendall just is so smart when it comes to this stuff. He's like, if you just think about increased search volume on eBay for any reason, automatically will spike the value because it's more views. How do you get more bids on your items? Views. And so what drives views? Anything in the news media. So we were talking about like other examples that have nothing to do with Bill Russell, but Bill Russell's passing away, while it's super sad, it's actually great for his card value. And so I believe right now is a time, he is my sell, because you're not going to see many other hype cycles about Bill Russell. You're just not. And you weren't going to. I mean, I would have said this 2 months ago about a guy like Bill Russell. In that, like, what is it going to be that drives his card value up? It's going to be when he passes away, unfortunately. And so I won't bring up my screen, but I did search Bill Russell cards on eBay sold listings earlier this morning when I was prepping for the show, and there's pages and pages and pages of sales from yesterday when he passed away. So I'm not just making this up. So rest in peace, Bill Russell. All of my condolences. Really, really mean that. But I mean, he is my sell of the week for sure.
Man, yeah. When I broke that news, I was just gutted for that. Like, Bill Russell's like one of those guys that's just always been a guy in the sports world that you look up to. Like, especially with all he did with in reference to civil rights, especially marching with King. And like, no athletes were doing that at the time. I know that's what ESPN's like framing as the narrative right now. Like, okay, I get that, but like someone who has studied racial reconciliation in grad school and taken some courses like that, Bill was somebody we talked about in some of those classes. Very few athletes like made the merge. Like you can look at Muhammad Ali was really influential, but Bill Russell was like one of those guys, and I think that was really important. Obviously, neither one of us come from African-American descent. Neither one of us know what it's like to be a Black American, but at the same time, like, I have deep-rooted passion to help that cause, and I think Bill Russell was such a moniker for those kind of things. I'm gutted that he's moved on to the afterlife. But at the same time, like, you're right. It's not weird to talk. It's not fun to talk about, but it's completely correct at the same time that this is maybe the last moniker that he shoots for, and I think it's a good, like, if you step back from the Bill thing and we think about all these GOATs we're investing in, you invest in GOATs so their market is consistent. Like, that's the point. Especially in guys after they've passed on. But at the same time, like,
I think the two are mutually well, first of all, very well said. Everything you just said, very well said. I totally agree with all of it, and I feel the same way you do about everything. I think that they're mutually exclusive, meaning you can mourn for someone's passing, but I don't think that you should necessarily feel bad about selling his cards, because maybe you bought him and it's a PC thing, and then you're not going to sell his cards. But if you're buying GOATs like this as an investment and they're getting up there in age, I think that you can feel bad as a human being for their passing and genuinely mourn for them. But I think that you can also make a profit off of their sports cards and not feel bad about it. Like, I don't think you need to, I think you can give yourself permission to sell a Bill Russell card now, because you can buy another Bill Russell. You're going to be able to buy the same card for probably 75% of the price, maybe even half the price in a few years. Maybe not, but because Bill Russell's market is going to be one of those guys that he's going to be solid, but certainly you're going to, it gives you an opportunity to make a decision to get some cash if you need it. Or, playing the market. I don't think you should feel bad about that. This is, I think, part of the game. I mean, I would be lying if I said that, my Barry Sanders cards, my Magic Johnson cards, my Michael Jordan cards that I'm holding, I would be lying if I said to you that I wouldn't consider selling them when they all pass away. Now, I hope that that's a very, very long time from now, but I just think that, I've said what I need to say. I think hopefully it's all well, everyone's taking it as well intended. So that's my sell.
Here's
of the
a question
week.
that is I'm asking it specifically for the context of what we do as investors. I'm not trying to make light of things or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go very long on this. You could just simply say like a small one sentence answer. Does the way somebody dies impact this?
I think so. I mean, not only that, but I think I'll just take it a little bit more 50,000 foot view than that, because I know what you're saying. I think what we end up finding out about that person in general impacts their value, and how they die can certainly play a role in that, because I'm just saying, right or wrong, perception is reality. So you are going to have, I mean, the reality is like, and thanks Toa for chiming in on this. I think that it's hard to kind of give examples on this, but like Demaryius Thomas passed away. That's super sad. I mean, but the reality is that like probably drove some of his card sales. They didn't announce how he died right away. I think they announced later, but you're going to have people that are going to pass away from circumstances that aren't as graceful as other circumstances. And I think that will absolutely, every detail of everything, I think affects everything. It's probably the best way that I can put it.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like I think about the difference between Bill Russell and Tyler Skaggs. I don't know if you remember that, but Tyler Skaggs, it came out later that he ended up ODing in a hotel room, and like that's a little bit different. Plus, he was an active player. It wasn't like he was a GOAT already, and so I do think the details of situations matter. And if we are to be what we are as investors, we've got to dive into those details.
Yeah, like
and I think we can just leave it at that.
Totally. And I always use for those of you that have listened to the show before, I always say, well, as long as he doesn't pull a Bill Cosby, he should be fine. And like, I say that very lighthearted, and I don't mean it to be offensive. And it's certainly not a lighthearted matter by any means. But what I mean by that is that like every detail of everyone's life matters when it comes to, we're basically buying stock in these human beings. So we have to kind of think of it that way. So Kendall, you have a sell of the week. Who's your who are you selling? Or who do you recommend that people sell? It could be either one.
I would recommend you get into this. Preseason hype, and maybe not right now. But my sell of the week is games are going to. I think they start this weekend. And preseason games are going to start this weekend, and I think you can kind of prepare your bags for what's about to happen. I think, additionally speaking, the trade deadline is happening over the next 2 days in Major League Baseball. For instance, I have, because of everything else that I do in my life, I have MLB TV on my other screen here. That is going nuts because like a couple of trades have happened today, but not a whole lot of people that are worth buying and selling in the trade market have moved yet. For instance, what I'm saying is there's a lot of pitchers that have moved so far. Castillo had moved and some other movers, but so I don't have one particular player, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, you're having an opportunity between now and the next time we have this podcast for there will be some trade deadline pieces that move. And please hear me, get out now, because in the way that baseball works, there is much more of a spike in the mid-season in baseball than there is at the end. And like even the players that make it to the end, they're more spiked at the middle of the year, because people are always operating in the perception that the end of the year will be where everything is the highest.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Baseball doesn't happen like that. The trade deadline and the All-Star break are where cards most of the time are at their peak. And so, for instance, last week I told you get out on Soto. I thought that was a great opportunity. I still think that's a great opportunity. But this week it could be guys like, for instance, David Peralta just got moved from the D-backs to the Rays. That guy, if you have David Peralta cards, get them online, please, because you're literally never going to get another opportunity to sell a David Peralta card. So that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's my answer.
Yeah, I love that advice. And I learned that last year about baseball, because last year was kind of the first hype cycle that I had gone through with baseball. And I did notice that nothing really happened at all after the All-Star break. I mean, very little. Maybe there was a trade deadline thing, but nothing in the playoffs. Might have been because who the teams were, but also like just nothing really happened in the playoffs. So that's interesting. I'm glad you said that. All right, cool.
A small side point to that. Just a small side point. MLB Chrome typically comes out. It's like a new set, the new Bowman Chrome or whatever. The Chrome like mega boxes usually come out during the playoffs. And so the cards that end up moving during the playoffs are those new cards rather than whatever's going on in the season. So I think that also plays into the MLB like calendar selling time.
Okay.
So.
Now, do those have Bowman Chrome in them as well? So you get Bowman Chrome in 2022 Bowman in that yearly release, but you also get different Chrome. So you mentioned in a baseball card strategy show about Jack Leiter's cards not having come out yet. Would this be the set that you just mentioned? Would that be potential for Jack Leiter's Bowman Chrome or Jack Leiter's Bowman Chrome first?
Yes, that could be a situation. Although I know too much about that situation and know that he's not going to be in that set, but it could like that before last week. So Aram and Jack are close. And I asked him, I said, Aram, when are Jack's cards coming out? I need some, like, what's the deal? I'm waiting here. And he was like, yeah, man, there's just like some other stuff going on, like blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to like potentially get Aram. I don't want to do anything like that. But what I will say is like, I have this sneaky feeling that Topps is going to do a Chet type thing with him and Kumar Rocker now. They were both Vandy teammates. They're both Rangers. They're both pitchers. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I could see it potentially where they release a special Kumar and Jack mega thing.
Let me tell you why I would love that. Let me just tell you why.
Because I'd have to eat my words?
Yeah, for sure.
I've already eaten them on Chet, okay?
Okay, but no, the real reason is because it could be the first time that I've ever seen pitchers be desirable investments.
I know.
And that would be cool, I think, to get pitchers involved in this,
That's the main reason I don't think it'll happen. One, because Texas is like Texas used to be a small franchise. As you can tell behind me, that's my favorite team. Yep. But now they're not. They're absolutely not right now. They spent $500 million last offseason on 2 players. That's not a small market team. Chris Young is coming in and doing some crazy, crazy stuff, and I love it. I'm all in. But I think they're becoming a big market team. And weirdly enough, like I could see them being the big market I know they already are the big market in Texas, which is weird because Houston is better. Houston has been better recently and historically they've been better at baseball. But if you look across the landscape of Texas, there are more Rangers fans than there are Houston fans, geographically speaking. And so, which is weird. And so, I don't know. Right there with you, Kendall. I've been waiting for those lighter cards. Absolutely.
So why don't you think it'll happen? Like what's the reason why you don't think something will happen? I was losing you on that a little bit. Like I said, my point was, could this drive interest in pitchers as investments? And then you said something about you don't think that pitchers will be investable, or you don't think that they will do a Chet type set?
My main reason why I don't think they'll do a lighter Kumar set on its own is that I don't think it would sell well. I think I would buy it, but I don't know if anybody else would buy it. You know what I'm saying? Like they do both have famous dads. They're both on the same team. They both have Vanderbilt, in their past, all this stuff. That's really important. I'll give you that. But I'm not sure if it sells outside of Texas environment.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
So, and pitchers always have a lower. So if it does come out, it might just be like maybe a Topps Now series or something like that. And then they also have Bowman cards. But I am curious to see, when do Jack's cards come out? Like, that's a big deal for me. And I think it's weird that they've held out this long. I don't know why they've held out. Like, I don't know any details by that. Like whether if it's Bowman or whether it's Jack or whether it's his agency or whether there's somewhere a mix of all three, or maybe they're trying to do an Al and Jack like combo thing. I don't know what's going on. So, but as a Rangers fan, I would love to know. So, Jack, if you're listening, because I know you are, please just drop me a line.
Yeah, Jack, Kumar, both of you guys, welcome on the show. Regardless of what happens, I believe my son Max will make me get Vanderbilt baseball season tickets next year when we move back to the Nashville area. So that would be pretty sweet. I was at a Nashville Sounds game last night. Pretty. It's like we do that a lot. It's a great place to be. Anyway,
if you're getting Vandy season tickets, I'm coming. Like it just is happening.
I think we're doing it. We're doing it. You're coming. So let's do it.
We'll do a
more than once strategy show outside the park.
I would come more than once for some Vandy tickets.
Awesome. All right. It's time for Would You Rather. So not that Gary V's my hero, but would you rather get your Grail card at the National or meet your hero at the National? So I did meet Gary V at the National, but I already met him a few times, and he's a good dude. And at one point in my life, I went from sort of Gary V fan to like more of Gary V, seeing myself as more of a peer, even though I'm not anywhere near the success level monetarily that he's had, to now just kind of like, oh, it's cool to see Gary V at the card show, but he's someone that's important to me for a lot of reasons, a lot of motivational reasons. Someone that I look up to. And so it just got me thinking Grail card. And you saw a picture of me holding up my Grail card that I did not buy at the National. So Kendall, would you rather, I don't even know who your hero is. It could be a
would not or could not. You would not buy it at the National, or you could not buy it at the National, or you should not buy it at the National.
Well, if you could do either without.
Oh, I'm just messing with you. You said like, yeah, it was my Grail card that I would not buy at the National, and I was like,
oh, I thought I said I did not buy at the National. That's what I meant. I meant to say I did not buy my Grail card at the National. And for those of you wondering what I'm talking about, my Grail card is a 1980 Topps Magic Larry Bird rookie with Dr. J in the middle, but signed by all three of them. And there was a Beckett authenticated one. Kendall, did they want $4,000 for that? I want to say it was $4,000 or higher.
For which one?
What did they want for the Beckett witnessed auto of the 1980 Topps, the one I'm holding in the picture?
It was $30,000.
It was $30,000. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely would. I would not buy that because I'm trying to buy a house right now and a car when we move back. But the question is for you.
If it was four, I would have been like,
I probably should get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you rather, but I think, okay, sorry. On that specific card, there are reprints of it. And so the reason why 4 makes sense is because in that Beckett witnessed slab, it doesn't denote whether or not it's a reprint of the card or if it's the actual card, if it's the actual original card. So I would think that a reprint with those 3 autos witnessed would be around 4, but definitely the real card would be closer to your 30, I would think. So Toa says he'd rather meet his hero and he can always get his Grail card later. That's great perspective, Toa.
No worries, like Toa. We can set that up. Me and you, bud.
There it is. Well played. Kendall, Toa, you can meet your hero. He's right here on the show. He wants to meet you. So that's Kendall. All right, Kendall, what's your, like, I don't even know who your hero is. So maybe you elaborate on this a little bit. I think it's a good question because maybe you'd rather have the card. I don't know what the card is. I don't know who your hero is.
This is kind of tough for me. I have like a weird philosophy on this kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of momentary happiness. Like all those people that are signing autographs at the National have no desire to go over there. Like literally my favorite athlete of all time, Pudge Rodriguez, was there at the National last year and I didn't pay $100 to see him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, so that's just, in my head, it's hard for me to. You know that quote, it's like never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
I think it was from like, I think they said it in Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. I think it's like from one of the Marvel movies that like never meet your heroes, kid. Blah blah
Totally.
blah.
Yeah.
My heroes in my head are sports figures, and they're almost not real. I know that's not a great way of looking at it. You know, like I do want to pull down and say, yes, they're human beings and we need to treat them as such. And I'm fully there with you. But in my head, my heroes need to stay my heroes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I'd rather have a card, honestly. I think I'd rather have the Grail card and try to do some cool stuff. Oh, it was Deadpool. Good job, Jamie. I do remember that in the Deadpool movie. So anyway, I would rather have the Grail card because that helps me achieve some of the goals that I'm looking for.
Yep.
Meeting my hero doesn't do anything for me, but I think that's a personality thing. Like I knew Gary Vee was there and I didn't go see him, you know, like.
Yeah. Do you like Gary Vee? Not really. I mean, you're either a Gary Vee person or you're not. So
see, I do believe that. There are people in both of those camps, and I feel like I'm the only person in the world that's like right in the middle. That's like, I appreciate what he does, but I do find him annoying. You know, like
yeah, totally. Well, I started to find him really annoying after like years of listening to his content. But yeah,
I don't know how he made it that long, honestly.
So
but I think he's really cool, I think he's doing some really cool stuff, and I like what he's doing with the NFT stuff, but I would do it totally like in a different way. And I love what he's doing for small business. I love what he's doing for entrepreneurs. I love what he's doing for startups. I'm all about it. Like, you know, like one of my big things is pouring into people and building other people. And I feel like Gary really does have a passion for that.
He really is that way. Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like it's all a facade, you know, and I'm really pumped for him eventually having the Jets someday. Like, I do think he'll do that.
I think it'll happen. Yeah, I agree. I think it'll happen.
You know, like I think it will, and I'm gonna be excited for that. You know, and but at the same time, like, I'm not following any of his podcasts or anything. You know, like
yeah. No, I like your answer. I think I would probably go Grail card for situational reasons as well. You know, I think some of it's situational, like knowing that the Grail card is more tangible. It's an actual asset. Meeting my hero, I think Magic's definitely like the guy that I would pick the person that I would pick to meet. But like between meeting Magic or getting like a $30,000 Magic rookie auto that also has Bird and Dr. J autos on it, like I'd probably pick the card. So yeah. RPO Sports Card agrees. He says the moment's kind of fleeting and more than likely underwhelming. That's kind of what Kendall was saying. He'd go Grail card. And then Jamie bringing it strong today. Admiring someone in person is kind of weird. Love Jamie today. Good work.
Jamie's hot. He's on fire.
Jamie's on fire.
In his hotel room mirror.
Yep. All right. So that's our cool. Kendall, do you have a would you rather for me? It's okay if you don't.
I did have one, but I didn't write it down, and I can't think of it right now. So we might.
There it is. All right, sounds good. Save it for next week. Do you have a gauntlet for me? Because it's gauntlet time, baby, and I've got a gauntlet for you. You see the little preview here on the slide.
Do I have a gauntlet for you?
Yeah.
No, I was just going to ask you, of my purchases at the National, which one you would potentially want to go home with.
All right, so let's do that one first. So let me see if I can remember. You had the Gunnar Henderson, which was out of 250.
So I bought 7 cards this weekend.
Okay, you walk us through.
I bought 2 Rose Lavelle cards, 1 regular auto, just like from a random. I think it was from like a. What set is it in? It's in the Upper Deck Goodwin Champion, so not really anything crazy. And then I bought a Rose Lavelle 9 Obsidian rookie card RC logo out of 75. I bought a Weston McKinney Chrome PSA 10 Schalke rookie. That's pretty sick for $80. I bought a Florian Wirtz Sapphire PSA 9 for $100.
I remember you were pumped about all of those, but definitely
Yep.
Wirtz on the sly you were pumped about.
Yep. I got a Josh Young PSA 10 Bowman First Chrome Atomic Sapphire PSA 10 for $80, which was the fact that card was $80
way too low.
Yeah. I got a Indy Rodriguez out of 299 PSA 10 auto in the bundle box for $100.
Amazing.
$100, freaking nuts. Later that night, the Speckle auto itself closed for like almost 95, I think. So like paid $5 more for the PSA 10 version. And then the Gunnar Henderson out of 275 or 250, that was 270.
I remember lending you the cash for that one, so I will never forget that one.
You did lend me the cash. So
I felt like I was coming in strong. I was a good wingman on that one.
That was a good wingman because I was like, crap, what do I do? My phone's not working.
All right, so those are the cards. Before I pick, I do agree with. We're gonna back up real quick. Jamie Hauser says that the parameters to this would you rather should have been that you can't sell the card. I actually agree with that, but I still pick the card anyway. But moving back to Kendall's cards, Southern Soccer Idiot says PSA 10 Weston McKinney buy is pickup of the week. Love that flying kick pose on the card. Is that the one you got? Love from, yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, you were frozen for a second.
Okay, Southern Soccer Idiot likes your Weston McKinney pickup. So,
cool.
So you got some love from.
We agree. Let's
there
go.
It is. The love. I pick Endy because I believe in Endy. You and Aram and you have sold me on Endy, and I believe you, and I bought some Endy on eBay that night when I got back to my hotel after you got that one. And so Endy's probably going to move up our sports card investment report baseball card rankings here very soon. And so that's the one I'm most intrigued in. I would put Gunner number 2, but the Endy PSA 10 Speckle Refractor Auto. Sign me up for that all day.
That was awesome.
But good work.
Gunner's probably the safer bet of the two. You
okay.
know,
he's like number 4 overall prospect on the MLB top 100. Like no, I think Gunner's probably the safer. That's a good point. I mean, for all of you listening, like Gunner's probably the pick baseball wise, but I just like Endy. I'm just rooting for him. So that's the one I'm going to take.
And he hit 5 home runs in 3 days last week. So
let's go. I may or may not have a guy on mine that hit a 512-foot bomb. So let's talk about that real quick.
That dude's a beast. But anyway,
let's go. So we'll see him here in a second. But the first one up is not that guy. It's a guy that Kendall and I talked about at the show at the National. James Wood, 2022 Bowman Chrome. You can comment on this is not his first. You can kind of walk the audience through that. But this is a Mojo Refractor auto out of 99. Buy it now for $200. Or an Izaak Pacheco, 2021 Bowman Chrome first refractor out of 499 auto for $125. And so price range here, Kendall, just factor that into your decision. Like there are different prices. There's kind of a different priced gauntlet here. They're all pretty close, but you just maybe talk about player card. Which one do you pick between these two? Pacheco refractor auto out of 499 first, or James Wood out of 99 Chrome auto?
First off, I'll kind of point out the differences here. So when Target, so Bowman 22 is the first release of the year. Well, the first release of a calendar year, but in a section year, Bowman draft would be, but it's in the very last part of whatever year it's in. So I know it's a little confusing, but you can, at this point, Paul can link my Bowman for Dummies video if you need it. But in this specific set, this Mojo set comes out of a mega box that's coming from Target. So this happens every year. Bowman comes out with what are called Mojos, which are like have this little like square little thing behind it, and they're pretty desirable. But the Mojo autos typically are not first autos because the player maybe has a first card already, and sometimes they do this thing where like for instance, Jackson Churio doesn't have a Bowman Chrome auto right now, but he's flying up people's like boards to acquire. But like the nicest thing you can acquire from him is like some low print numbered color. So like Jackson Churio will have a Bowman Chrome auto, but it won't say a first on it, but it will be his first auto. So like there's like some gray areas here. James Wood is not one of those. So this card here is not his first auto, even though his first auto came out like 4 months before this. But James Wood will be liquid enough, I believe. He's high enough desirable that this card will still move. I don't think you'll have any problem buying and selling something at this price point and it going up in the future. I did this for Nick Gonzalez. I actually ended up selling it to Paul, which was kind of cool. So Paul has, I think it's an orange.
It was a sick card too.
Yeah, I think it's an orange Nick auto, which is sick. And then I have some Robert Hassels that are this way as well. And Robert Hassel's another guy who's really desirable. So it's not that I never buy these. But then you go to the Pacheco, and the Pacheco one is a refractor auto, so it's still numbered itself. A lot of people won't know who Pacheco is at this point. Definitely a guy that, so, you know, I was with Arm and Colby last week. They're super duper prospectors. I knew who Pacheco was, but Arm said, like, no, Pacheco's going to be great. Like, he's going to be a really good baseball player. So I think it's still in the flyer category for us, but it's definitely something that is undervalued in the hobby. So like that's Arm and I had this discussion of like, okay, when you bring up names, are they like, hey, you should definitely buy this because he's going to be the next Hall of Famer, or oh, you should definitely buy this because it's just undervalued of where he should be. And this is one of the undervalues of where he should be cards. So anyway, I'm taking Pacheco.
I love that. Yeah. And for those of you listening, it's Izaac, Isaac, and then Pacheco, Pacheco, for your eBay searches. And yeah, he's got all the great cards. Basically all the cards that you would look for in terms of a Bowman Chrome first auto. This one's numbered to 499. And this seller actually, you know, we all know how eBay works, where if you look at a card, then you're kind of eligible to have the seller send you an offer. So I actually got an offer for this one for $100. And I texted Kendall yesterday, is this a good buy? So I know you don't have to tell me on the show, but just, this is one that I'm considering buying. So I wanted to get your take on this versus James Wood. So Pacheco wins the first round of this particular gauntlet. And now we're going to go to the guy that I was referring to earlier, Elly de la Cruz, who many of you may have seen. His home run was like on the front page of ESPN.com's app. And the highlight reel video was there for the Chattanooga Lookouts. My son was then like, hey, we need to go to Chattanooga now and see Elly. And I was like, okay, buddy, we will. Like, I would like to, but we've got other things we need to do in our life. Unfortunately,
nothing's more important than baseball, Dad. Come on.
I know. It's a very hard decision to decide, you know, to pass on a Lookouts game and drive the 3 hours over to Chattanooga. But this is a out of 199. Is this a fuchsia lava refractor? It's no auto, but do they really call it fuchsia on the checklist? Okay, nice. So it's for $140. You can make an offer, but are you going Elly, who I know you're in love with, or Pacheco, who's more of a flyer? And the reason I like this is because we're lining up the auto out of 499 on the player that's a flyer versus maybe what you would consider the more star potential sooner rather than later, but it's just it's a first, but no auto. Fuchsia refractor, chrome first out of 199.
This is always hard for me. I always have a hard time like with, okay, do I take the auto at the same price or do I take a card from a player that's nicer, but it's not autoed? And I think a year and a half ago, I would have chosen this Elly no problem. For instance, I had a second or third year Mojo out of 5 Julio Rodriguez that I bought a couple of years ago. Well, I guess it was like a year ago at this point. But I ended up selling it. Anyway, I'm trying to factor all this in my head.
It's a tough one.
So Elly is probably has a super, super, super high ceiling. Another quote from Aram from this week is he said, Elly is who Jason Dominguez was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, this dude, like, I'm excited about this guy. I'm trying to buy what I can of his, and I just got his chrome. It's not the first, but it's like that Mojo refractor auto that you talked about a minute ago for James Wood.
Yeah.
I think I got that raw for like 163 yesterday in an eBay auction.
That'll go up.
So I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think I haven't.
When I hear myself say that against this card, sorry to cut you off, but I just hearing myself say that against this card that we're looking at for Elly, that might be your answer right there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Ray Waves are like really cool, or like the Lava and Ray Waves are super cool, but I'm not a big Fuchsia fan. I know that sounds really dumb, but like,
no, I mean, it matters in cards. Everyone's got their preference. People might not. You are limiting your buyer pool when you pick a color like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's 199. I'll shut up. I'll let you make your decision.
Which is crazy.
All right, Izaak.
I really don't know why. I'm just leaning more Pacheco in this instance.
Okay, cool.
Like,
well, I think
I'm trying to think like maybe the Elly's pop is going to be really high when it would be a selling high, and people aren't going to be choosing the Fuchsia, numbered card to be the one they're buying.
Great consideration there for the audience, I think. So I like that. All right, so now we got Pacheco against this 2020 Topps Chrome Bundesliga pink refractor Yusafa Moukoko out of 75. The price is it's sold for $350, so you would have had to pay $350 to get this, Kendall. So just Pacheco for 125, or Moukoko no auto pink refractor out of 75 rookie for 350. So pay more for Moukoko or stick with Pacheco.
For the fact of the example, can I have 2 Pachecos?
Yeah. Talk about it.
I still think I'm picking Moukoko, but
so two Pachecos or 1 Moukoko?
I'm picking Moukoko because Mokoko's already on the national team. He's already at the highest level. He's already going to be somebody that I'm going to sell in like 2 months or 3 months. And so I am looking to crystallize that fast. And Pacheco may never get there. So
okay, I like
Moukoko.
I like that. Hundo. What up, Hundo? You're new in terms of it is a cool logo. You're new in terms of commenting. Hopefully you've been watching. We appreciate it, even if this is your first time. Welcome. He has a James Wood Prism Draft auto. Yeah, talk about that, Kendall. Like, just for people who maybe don't know and or do already know, like Prism versus Bowman. Like, I mean, I think you're a better person to break this down for Hundo. Let's take a quick question here before we go to the moves. Yeah.
Hundo, I don't want to disappoint you, but that card is nowhere near as valuable as the James Wood. Baseball collectors typically are purists. and they're going to want the licensed material only, and the Prism cards are just not licensed. And so although it's a awesome card, and I know they look really great. Yeah. So I know which one you're talking about. There's a market for it. I will say that, like, you can sell it, and I don't know what you bought it for, but you will be able to sell it. But Prism is not going to move nearly as fast nor at the same level as the Bowman would. Like, I mean, honestly, Topps doesn't even move as fast as Bowman does. You know, Topps is even licensed, but like baseball traders just don't. Usually it's Bowman or nothing for most baseball people that I've met at least.
And I'll just add to that, like, this was a new learning for me over the last year or two. Hundo, I mean, you might already know this, and you might just be asking about the Prism. When you're super familiar with sports cards in general, Prism is like one of the top brands. So it can be confusing to non-baseball only people to say, well, why wouldn't a Prism, like a big Prism card like this, be like outdo maybe a not so big Bowman version of the same thing? Like, when I mean big, I mean like low serial numbered versus high serial numbered Bowman. And it's because everything Kendall just talked about. And so you're not going to really be able to get as much for the Prism as you would be for the Bowman. So I could see where that would be a little bit confusing. And that was kind of a lesson learned for me to not really chase the Panini non-licensed baseball stuff. Like, it's kind of like a leaf product for every other sport is the best analogy I can give you, because it's like, yeah, there's cheap autos. That's the good news. The other good news is they will sell. Like, I've sold a lot of leaf and other non-licensed auto stuff, but it's not going to sell for as much. So that's what it is. But great question. We love the question.
Here's an example. I sold a Mojo auto of Gabriel Moreno. So catching prospect. It was a Mojo auto. So we just talked about that. So it's the one that's like not the first, but first year. Gabriel Moreno auto. I sold it for like 175, I think, at the time when he first came up, or something like that. I don't know exactly, but you'll get the reference, which is why I'm saying this. I bought I had a pro debut, which is a licensed product, but is him in his minor league jerseys, so still not the same level. Auto of Gabriel Moreno that I sold for $11.
Yeah.
So it's just like it just doesn't really. Topps and Bowman over Prism. Yeah, exactly. Like that's where I would hone in on. I would just hone in on licensed product for baseball. I mean, licensed product for anything is really important. But I mean, I even saw some Pro Set Halan autos this weekend from Pro Set. They had Messi and Halan autos in there somehow, which I feel like are fake. But I saw some this weekend, and they were really super cheap, and they were still in the case, which means nobody had bought them yet, so.
Yeah. I bought a couple boxes of that product to try to get the Messi and Haaland, and I didn't know really what was in it. And I shipped one box to myself from my vault, opened it, and it's literally just 2 encased autos of different soccer players. Did not hit the Messi or the Haaland. I think I will be able to resell the autos that I pulled for, I don't know, maybe half the price of the box. So it's still, you can still have fun with. I got Cafu and a rookie auto, a Premier League player rookie auto, and I can't remember his name right now, but I will follow up on that. I will let all of you know for sure. All right, so let's go actually to the live chat Q&A now, because Hundo did a good job leading us into that, and so we're already into that flow. So let's go to the live chat Q&A now, and then we'll hit the moves as our last segment. And let's go back into earlier in the show. I have starred the comments from several of you, the questions. So let's get back to our guy, Jamie Hauser. Jamie lives in Upper Wisconsin, and he's been following Estuary Ruiz since earlier this year. Now he's a brewer, and it's more tempting to buy. Kendall, this is all you, man.
Dude, you are a lucky dog. This Struy coming over in this deal made the Brewers look like absolute bandits. Like, I don't know how they got. I mean, I knew they were going to get a good deal if they ever were to move Hader, but the fact that they moved Hader and got that big of a deal, I was kind of blown away. I was like, I feel like the Padres got fleeced right there, but at the same time, they really needed some back end help. They've needed, like, if you look at the Padres and you're like, okay, is this a World Series team? You can look at them and say, well, maybe if Tatis is on there, but you can also look at them and say their bullpen is really struggling. They just went out and got the best dang guy that you could ever freaking have ever in the bullpen. They're just like, oh, our bullpen's struggling. Let me go get the guy that's been like the next best closer since Mariano. Like this guy, Josh Hader, is filthy. You can't touch this guy. So it makes sense that they had to give a lot to get Hader, because I'm sure the Brewers would have been happy just continuing to roll Hader out there. I mean, the Brewers aren't super far away from competing again for in themselves. And this guy's going to have a contract till 2023. But Esteury Ruiz is a guy that Aram texted me a couple of months back, and he goes, like, it's always funny when you get a text from Aram. There's not a lot of context. It's just like, bye Esteury. Like, okay, when you get the text, like, this is a guy. And so I bought some Ruiz earlier this year, and since then I've been watching him, and even he got called up recently. He's going to be a great player. The Brewers got a very, very good haul back. They even got a MLB bullpen guy back for him, so it's like they can immediately just replace that guy and strengthen their farm system. Love the deal. Love the ad for the Brewers. Even getting some of the other pieces that they got, Lamet and some of the other guys, super, super pumped for the Brewers farm system. Ruiz is an absolute animal.
Nice. I have nothing to add to that. So let's get to Dell Duncan. He says, what happened with Allen Iverson at the National? Heard some buzz that he dipped early. I don't know, but I do know that Kendall and I were, as Aram was opening his yearly box of Bowman baseball, which was 2019, and I will not comment on how he did. We met a great father-son combo who were super excited to get autos. So at the National, there seemed to be like two completely separate crowds of people. Like, I think 90% of people are there for the cards, and that's about 90% of the show. And then 10% of the show is like these autograph signings by a third-party company called TriStar Productions, I think. And so TriStar comes in, and they had a bunch of Dallas Cowboys Hall of Famers plus Allen Iverson on Friday. And heard great feedback on how AI did with the crowd, and saw a picture of this guy's son with AI, and it was really, really cool. But I don't know, like, if he dipped early or anything like that. But I do think that, like, from that one anecdotal experience from someone who we randomly ran into that was there for the autographs, it seemed like AI was doing a good job. But I don't know if he dipped early. The other thing that's notable about AI that some of you may already know, and Kendall and I came across this, is he apparently wore number 6 in an all-star game in the tribute to Dr. J. So we saw people with some really cool merch for him to sign, including one person who had an Iverson number 6 jersey, which caught my attention. So pretty cool. If you're into autos and you want to go to the National next year, like, my advice is get cool merch for these guys to sign. Like, don't show up and pay $100 and have them sign some random stuff. Not that you would anyway, but I think, like, thinking like that guy did with the 6 jersey, there was kind of some low key buzz about that and items like that people were having signed. So just trying to add some value to the answer here, Dell. I'm not sure if he dipped early, but I'm giving you an elaborate answer on AI and autographs at the National.
Yeah, I think I didn't hear anything about AI either, other than good stuff at the National, like what you're speaking on. But which brings up another point that when you're at the event, you get it's like you get totally two different experiences. If you're at home, for instance, I didn't know anybody went missing. I didn't know any, I'm sure Backyard Breakers did something to piss somebody off. They pissed me off while they were there because they traveled in 500 people at a time. It's just like you're riding the escalator and you're behind all of the Backyard Breakers, just all of them. But like, you don't hear about that stuff when you're at the event, especially when you have no service. Like, that's a big deal. We've already talked about that one. But I didn't hear anything about AI negatively. Heard a lot of positive stuff. But at the same time, I will point out that this convention is actually named the National Sports Collectors Convention. So everybody always assumes the first C stands for Sports Cards Convention. It's Sports Collectors Convention. So I think way back in its heyday, it was probably a whole lot different. It wasn't so card dominant for a long time. For instance, last year, I didn't spend too much time in the vintage booths this year, but last year I saw Jackie Robinson's or maybe it wasn't Jackie, maybe it's Satchel, or you know what? I don't remember the player. The point is, I saw a PSA graded check of their first paycheck from a major league team. Like, that's freaking nuts, you know, like just to see that he actually signed it. It was the check that he had given to the bank, and then somebody had like authenticated it at that point. So super cool. There's a bunch of weird stuff like that at the National. And I think that's why TriStar is there with all the autographs. I even saw the two actors from The Blind Side, the big guy who is like the show person, and then like the little boy that's like his little brother. They were there signing autographs together. I saw them. I saw the guy that licks the pole on the Christmas Story was there. So he had like a long line. And then like this random character from Seinfeld was there. And I like turned around. I was like, why do I recognize that guy? And I'm like standing like face to face from him at his table. And I look down at his like little thing, and it's like he's signing autographs as a Seinfeld character. And I was like, oh, that's why. So I do know what Seinfeld is, Paul. Since you asked
I've been
on the train.
I've been ripping on Kendall. He's only 10 years younger than me.
I'm only 10.
So we don't have that big of an age gap, I don't think. But I poke fun at him because he started it poking fun at me on the show. You're showing your age, Paul. So I didn't know if he.
Oh, it's definitely something that will come back and forth.
He had heard of Seinfeld. There is no such thing as a random Seinfeld character, by the way, Kendall. So who was it? Was it Kenny Banya? Was it Tim Watley? No, that's Bryan Cranston. You'd have known. Anyway,
all right. It wasn't one of the main characters. It was like it was a side character.
Cool. All right, so here we go. Jamie again. AJ Dillon is still underpriced in Jamie's opinion. Probably right. I would probably agree with that. Card value should explode. Aaron Jones will get hurt. Yeah, I like this call, Jamie. I agree. I think that this is how you make money on football cards. I think that you take calculated risks like this. I'm not saying don't go out and buy Justin Herbert. Don't go out and buy Jalen Hurts. Like, there are definitely plays to be made on because those guys have so many different cards. So if you check out the sports card investment report at nooffseason.com, and you can save 20% by using the promo code nooffseason, we have over 300 player profiles of all the guys that we think will make you money and the ways to make money buying those players, what specific cards to buy, when to sell, all of that. So there are a bunch of different ways to make money on football. But I really like what Jamie's saying here with a guy like AJ Dillon, because he's a running back. Nobody really buys running backs, which means that the card prices are really cheap. And if you agree with Jamie that Aaron Dillon, for example, is a guy who's going to get some playing time and have a couple good games, the way to play it is to buy as low as you possibly can, like an AJ Dillon rookie patch auto, or a brand like Prism rookie auto, like Silver Prism rookie auto, or something really nice and liquid that would be liquid for any player, but it's going to be super cheap for a guy like AJ Dillon. So basically take the card that you would like to have for Justin Herbert, buy it for AJ Dillon at a fraction of the price, and then list it for sale like right before week 1, and then again right before week 2, and then again right before week 3, or just keep it up as a buy it now. And then it'll sell when AJ Dillon does explode. And then hopefully the card prices hopefully you do make money off of that. You won't always, but I know that this is how you can do it. And worst case scenario is you get stuck with a really cool looking AJ Dillon card and no one cares about AJ Dillon. So you just have to be prepared for the downside, and you need to sell it. Like, I don't care how good he plays, like, you do need to sell it, because running backs get hurt all the time. The minute he gets hurt, his card's not worth any money at all. Even if he's coming back the next week, it's that volatile with the position players other than quarterbacks. So that's my advice on a guy like AJ Dillon. I think there's potential there, but that would be the way that I would play it.
It's $65. Is that enough of a risk that you want to take for an AJ Dillon? That's an Optic, a rookie ticket Optic auto. So personally, I'm not going to take a $65 risk on a backup running back, but at the same time, like that's how people swing trade, like that. Sometimes you're going to hit like huge, for instance, if he does get in the game, Aaron Jones gets hurt and he has a 100-yard game, that could potentially go for 250, but at the same time, you might wash $65 as well. And I would just make sure you really believe in AJ before you do it.
Yeah, so Jamie, we're happy to answer your questions anytime this episode about Ruiz and Dillon, so good work there. Dell, happy to answer your questions anytime, and glad you found our answer valuable about Iverson. We've got Jake Blumenthal, who's a first-time listener and a first-time caller, so thanks for that. We appreciate it, Jake. Jake has a question. Pulled down a Bowman Hi-Fi Futures Noel V. Marte to 50. That's cool. Hold, sell, any idea on price? He's a newbie. Kendall, you want to take that one as well?
Let me look it up, and I can give you an accurate price, but I will say I would sell it. I would sell it right now, actually. Like I would make a profile on eBay, get it up today. He moved in the Castillo trade to the Reds. And what we've said is, we always like to potentially get on high markets, all this kind of stuff. Novelli Marte is very good, but you have a nice card that's not the card you're looking for in Novelli Marte. So like this card is going to sell for good money if you hit a good hype cycle. So like I would imagine it's probably $20-ish. What did he say it was again?
He said it was
a
Hi-Fi Futures to 50. And while you're looking this up, just for those of you listening, so that there's not dead air here, I'm going to take Michael Best's question, and then we'll circle back around to Jake. So Michael Best says, who do you recommend to watch for noobs? Thank you, Michael. This is the first time I've seen your name, so thank you so much for finding us, watching, and commenting. That is awesome. What I recommend is that when you're just getting into investing in sports cards, regardless of your background, practice with the Michael Jordans of the world, practice with the non-rookie Tom Brady cards of the world, practice with the other GOATs those are probably the two most liquid players. That's why I said that. But practice with the non-rookie card, affordable, achievable cards of those guys. Kobe, Magic, whoever, like pick your favorite player in the sport. They can be active. And then give yourself a budget of like $100, honestly, to play around with. Like you would learn betting on FanDuel or betting on DraftKings. You wouldn't jump in and start putting big money into different contests. You would feel it out first. And I think that's what you need to do with sports cards. That will protect you from really overpaying for a particular card, and you'll be able to learn which cards out of your $100 budget actually you made good plays on and where you actually failed. And then of course, so that's what I would do. Based on all of my failures and successes as a sports card investor. But that's actually why I started the sports card investment report at no off season, so that there's some ranking, but then within the ranking, you can drill down into each player and you can see which card should I actually buy and which card should I actually not buy. So that's why that's there. So if you're down for that, you can save 20% using the promo code no off season if you upgrade to premium at nooffseason.com. But I would definitely start with like, pick your favorite player from any sport. Pick Justin Herbert. Don't go buy his highest priced card. Buy just a base Prism rookie or something raw, and then just see what the market does, and you're not going to spend that much money for that card. You're not going to make that much money back on that card. You're probably going to be able to sell it for about what you paid for it, but that's going to get you watching the market. Kendall, what do you think? Well, we'll actually let Kendall comment on that or go back around to Jake. It's back to you now.
So I don't know if he's asking which players should he listen to or which resources he should listen to. If you are asking like who to watch in terms of what media would be really important, or like what I did was like, I think we put out great content here, and I'm not just saying that. I think we cover all different sports, which is really unique, and you can kind of dial in from there. I mean, like Andy is like such a good dude. Like he's really good at what he does. Excuse me. I have the hiccups. He's really good at what he does. Like Paul's good at really bringing things in the media up front. If that's what you're saying, I would recommend that. I watched a freaking butt ton of sports card investor videos on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I did when I first started. I would just be like, okay, I need to just immerse myself in this world. And so I would literally go to a playlist that had a bunch of his videos, and I would just press play and just listen. If you're looking for baseball content specifically, justbaseball.com is a great reference. Another one is Let's Talk Wax. His name is Kyle. Kyle is a great friend of mine. I love his content. I actually met him because I found his content and loved him so much that I reached out to him and I was like, we have to be friends. Which, interestingly enough, is exactly how I met Paul. So I said, yeah. So Paul has a book that you can read. He's not going to tell you because he's humble and he doesn't really love the book right now. But it's kind of in a rework. But his book does bring up really good points for somebody who's just starting. And I read it. It's mainly modeled for like, a generation above me, I think. But I read it and I still gained a lot from it. So I would say that. Another thing is there's a bunch of good podcasts out there, but a bunch of the good podcasts just talk about whatever the heck they want. They don't talk about making investable plays. And I think that's what's important to me is like, okay, there's cool cards you can collect, but I'm trying to make profit. And so I would just be careful with who you listen to in the sports world out there. That's it.
Thanks for mentioning the book, Michael. If you want to go to nooffseason.com/book, it will actually redirect you to the Amazon link for my book, and it's pretty cheap. So that'd be awesome if you did pick that up. I think, Kendall, I appreciate you mentioning that. I think it's relevant to like Kendall's. It's literally called What to Do When You Find Your Old Sports Card Collection, the Middle-Aged Dude's Guide to Selling Old Sports Cards. So it's based on what I did when I found my old sports cards and what I learned. So I think most of it's still relevant. It's just a couple years old now. So a lot changed in terms of the grading and the Facebook marketplace that I talk about versus eBay and all that. But there's still some good stuff in there, I think. But yeah, Jamie Hauser says Luka Nation. And I think what he means by that is like Luka's another good guy to like sort of follow because he's so liquid, and like don't dump big money into Luka cards, but like buy one PSA 10 Luka and that's it. And then just like see what that does. If you like basketball, that's another way to do it. So
do you want me to Kendall, back on the card?
Yeah. What did you find for Jake? Jake's
so there's been one of them that has moved in the past. Oh shoot, I spelled his name wrong. That's why.
Noel V. Marte.
Noel V. Noel. Okay. Yeah. So there was one that moved recently for about $20. But I would say between $10 and $15 is what you should expect. I wouldn't throw it up as an auction. I would throw it up as a buy it now for cheaper than the last couple of ones have sold. With a card like this, you're trying to drive eyeballs to it. And with an auction, you're going to assume people want to get in a bidding war, and nobody's going to get into a bidding war for an insert. That's just, usually. So I would do a buy it now, do it for like $10-15, and crystallize it. That card is never going to be more valuable until he gets called up. When he gets called up for the Reds, and he will, and he's going to be incredible, but it's not something I would hold. I would flip that into a different card.
Okay, cool. Great answer. And Jamie, just to clarify, Jamie meant the podcast called Luca Nation. So I apologize for that. There is a podcast called Luca Nation. So that's another good I have never listened, but I definitely want, and I've never listened to Let's Talk Wax, but if any of you guys want to partner with me, I would be down to be on your show or have you guys on our show. And maybe Kendall can hook us up with Let's Talk Wax, and maybe Jamie knows Luca Nation, and we could just be one big happy family.
Dude, the Let's Talk Wax, Kyle, he lives like so far out in the boondocks that he's not able to have Wi-Fi in his house. And so he runs his whole show off of a hotspot on his phone. It's wild. Like, he can put so much content out on a hotspot.
Props to Kyle. All right. So somebody says that the European Championship for national teams in basketball, that's coming up, and the European stars of the NBA are coming to play. And I think the comment gets cut off, but that's interesting because there's one guy that comes to mind that I've thrown his name out there, Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, I was like, Luca will definitely be there.
Luca will be there, but we all know the guys, but there's one guy, Victor Wembanyama. He's French. And he's like 7'6" or 7'7", and he's going to be the number 1 overall pick next year. Next year's NBA drafts, he should be the number 1 overall pick. And Greeny Green, better late than never. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you, Greeny Green. I don't think we could have met at the National because I don't know who you are, but we're happy to have you. All right, so
Shade 2.0.
So let's move to the moves, which is our last segment of the day. So I'm going to talk you guys through some of the moves, who is up and who is down at nooffseason.com. Sports Card Investment Report. It's a lot of football because we're kind of believe it or not, we're kind of at the end of like where you can sort of make some sneaky plays on football, because what's about to happen is you're about to start seeing drastic price differences in football cards. And what that typically means is that if you've waited until then you're not the seller of those cards that are moving up very high. And we don't really want you to be the buyer of the cards that are moving up that high, especially during football season. We want you to be early and not late. And so we've moved guys like Tony Pollard, Mike Williams, Mike Evans is a big one to pay attention to. So check out the football card rankings at nooffseason.com. Javonte Williams, the running back in Denver. We talked about AJ Dillon earlier in the show. He's on there. We've added probably at least 25 player profiles to our football card rankings at nooffseason.com. Now is the time. It's basketball card buying season, but it's like the end of, it's like the start. You've got like 2 months to buy basketball cards, but you've got like a few days to make real good plays on some football cards before the hype cycle like really begins. And you start seeing football cards increasing in value to the point where it doesn't make sense to buy them anymore. I'm almost to the point where like Trevor Lawrence is a sell, even though like I think he's going to be a better sell in week 3 than right now. But I'm looking at Sports Card Investor, and their data tool is just showing like all these Trevor Lawrence cards moving up. And that's a big sign to me that we're at the point where you need to be buying some football cards. So if you're looking for some sneaky plays, I mentioned Tony Pollard, Mike Evans, he's a wide receiver for the Chargers. And then, Mike Williams, wide receiver for Chargers. Mike Evans, we all know, Tom Brady's number 1 target. Like if you're not in the Brady market and you want to be maybe more short-term looking at making some plays, Mike Evans, man. You know, he caught 74 balls for 1,000 yards and a career high 14 touchdowns last year. So he's got some markers coming up. So that's kind of who's moving up on the nooffseason.com sports card investment report. Just wanted to throw that out there. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is interesting. Let's go back to this one comment here.
Asia.
Drazen Petrovic passed away a long time ago, unfortunately. I actually rebounded for him when I was a youngster. I was a Pistons ball boy for one day, and Drazen Petrovic did not miss a shot. But I love Drazen. He was amazing. Peja, Sabonis, Kukoc, Dejan Bodroga. I'm not familiar with who that is. And then, of course, Vlade Divac. Those are some good players. So throwing it out there, maybe, I'm guessing, because maybe this person is saying that this could drive some card value. So that'll be interesting. Greeny Green, how about Josh Palmer? Yes, absolutely. Thank you to Andy Kaysen, who's all over this. He's the host of our Football Card Strategy show, and he's actually going to be co-hosting 2 episodes of the Sports Card Strategy show, the August 15th and 22nd episodes with Kendall. So Kendall,
and I'm sure most of that will be talking about football, because that's prime Andy season.
That's probably going to be Kendall teeing up Andy for some football, and then Kendall fielding the baseball, soccer questions of the day. But yeah, that'll be fun. I'll be on vacation, so I'm going to have those 2 extremely smart individuals host the show without me, so we can keep the show rolling. Josh Palmer's in there, is my point. So Josh Palmer, there is a profile on Josh Palmer. He is the 3rd Chargers wideout. Andy's big on him. And so that's cool. And then before we wrap here, let's take this comment. Bodroga was a European basketball star in the 90s, 2000, 2006, played for the Yugoslavian team, beat the United States, but never wanted to move. That's interesting. Never wanted to move to the NBA. Thank you for that information. We appreciate you watching, commenting, listening. Love it. Kendall, do you have anything to add before we sign off today?
I was just going to point out that I have had 3 or 4 trades in my Dynasty Football League over the last week go through, not me, but they've gone through the Deshaun Watson news that came out today, all that stuff. People are preparing mentally for this time of year about to switch to football season. So you might already be late, is what Paul is saying, but maybe get some stuff that's been on eBay, buy it now for a while, maybe go look, who knows what their people are checking. So
yeah, and I think the biggest, I have been holding all of the football cards that I bought last year, last football season, and I bought a few football cards strategically for selling now. So my mindset, just so you all know, is exactly what Kendall said. And that's why I said that, is because I'm about to start listing all of my football cards, and I fully intend to sell all of my football cards by the end of September. That's going to happen. For whatever they sell for, they're going to be gone. They're going to be out of my collection, out of my vault, every single football card that I own. One way.
Deborah, sell your cards. This is your time. This is it.
Deborah, we love you. Sell Patty Mahomes. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and listening to episode 41 of the Sports Card Strategy Show. I'm Paul Hickey with nooffseason.com. He's Kendall McKee with Wild Cards Box Breaks on Facebook, nooffseason.com, and justbaseball.com. We are back next week with another episode of the Sports Card Strategy Show. And tomorrow, I'm going live with our guy, Greg Longtoe. We're going to have an F1 card strategy show live on the feed tomorrow. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great day.